Dude, they need to buff fighters
Why?
100%.
Why?
Because their damage needs to be on par with the Arbiter and the Rogue
Uh,
and the Ranger. Especially a fucking Ranger.
well, I would say more. I would say more the Arbiter than the Ranger because
You wanna.
the bulk of the Rangers' DPS comes from their wills.
Hmm.
Arbiters is from their encounters, and that's where
I
fighters
just
get
think
their damage
that
to their encounters.
I think fighters need their bleed damage back as well. Because they had
I don't know
bleed damage pre mod.
what's what's the what you the bulk of 90% of an arbiter's damage is between two encounters, right?
Yeah,
That you alternate between
yeah,
while prophecies uh, ticking down.
yeah,
So you hit prophecy, and then you just alternate between two abilities until that 10 seconds is up.
yeah. Basically,
What's the magnitude of
If-
prophecy and then them two abilities?
I think
What's ca- what
prophecy doesn't have a
what
magnitude.
what's causing? Right, it's a percentage of all the damage that you did
Hmm.
for that 10 seconds.
Yeah,
So what's the magnitude of those two abilities?
I think Daunting goes to like six something with the stacks, and then Forge Master goes to like nine, eight, 900 ish.
So a 600 and a 900, you figure?
Yeah. E- each
Shit.
each attack on a crit with sudden verdict is doing at least a daily, a normal daily.
Well, I mean, Anvil's 900 and something. Uh, that three hit attacks over 1,000.
You talking about
Uh,
Griffin's Wrath? The the combo?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's over a thousand.
they say that that's bad to use because of the fucking cast time on it.
The cast time
'Cause
is rough, and it's on the
people are
magnitude
like
is stacked between the three hits.
oh, you should run. Yeah, and then if it get canceled out, you miss out on
Yeah,
damage because
yeah. So
it'll just
it's
go on
commander,
cooldown.
it's commander strike, bull
Commanders,
rush,
Bull
and
Charge, and Anvil.
yeah, and bull rush is 700 with the
I see
talent.
the I see the increase on the at will. It's pretty fast now, yeah,
The thing is that
but it needs to be faster.
fighters. Do, the thing is that fighters don't have. I think a, attack for attack, fighters can match an arbiter encounter for encounter. It's the prophecy that
Nah, and the
puts.
cooldowns, cause by the time like 12 seconds for an at will. I mean an
Well,
encounter
you can just keep alternating those encounters though, right? As long as you
on an
have the
arbiter. Yeah, as long as you
energy.
have the divinity. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, that's another thing. So I mean, to compensate for that,
it's a
I
lot.
mean, either fighters would have to start using their vengeance instead of like a cooldown.
I
Like
stand
you would
by
have
what
to.
I said. Vengeance should be removed.
You think so?
I don't like the idea of it at all whatsoever. I never liked it, dude. It was one of the dumbest things they could have done, honestly.
What, having to keep the bar up the whole time?
Yeah, we shouldn't have like honestly, especially especially since we're already like I mean since they're already so crippled in movement and clunky wise, the fact that they're even making it more clunky and less fluid as a class is really
Well, what if they kept vengeance and instead of using it as a way to increase the damage, would use that as a source of their encounter abilities, like the arbiter? So
well
it
the
would
thing
use
was back
vengeance.
then like if a lot of the encounters now that don't do any damage actually did damage. Like for AoE damage, for instance, right? And Force Threat used to hit for like 400,000 and add when it used to, like it actually used to do damage. Like it was a magnitude damage encounter,
Right.
and it was an AoE, and it would automatically give you threat. Obviously, that's why people used to run it as a tank as well. And then they had Nice Challenge, which was their single target ability, which honestly was a good like it has its pros and cons, you know, because you're gonna immediately pull threat when you hit with when you popped Nice Challenge, because you did basically 100% more damage on the target you popped it on. So that's basically almost, whatever 100% is doubled or whatever. So your Griffin's Wrath, your Anvil, blah blah blah, was basically hitting Arbiter numbers within that 10 seconds that you had a nice challenge. But they got rid of that too. Then that was for single target. Now it's on the tank path, and it does absolutely jack shit of what it used to. Like, a lot of the encounters that they have now are just nerfed. Vengeance gauge wasn't a thing at all, honestly. And it was better when it wasn't a thing. I don't think they should be forced to stopgap every 5 seconds to make sure their vengeance gauge is over 50%. Because then if you run out of vengeance gauge, especially in the middle of a boss fight or something like that happens, and or in Zariel or whatever, you're missing out on almost, what, 30-40% damage, whatever it is. I just think it's one of the most pointless mechanics to a class.
Yeah, I never liked. I never
Instead
liked
of
having to stop and keep recharging it myself.
instead of giving it vengeance, just take the vengeance off and just give its percent damage to the fighter as a whole, and then just call it a wrap. And I bet you the class would excel and do much better than it does now, and it'll still be competitive with the other DPSs.
So just get rid of vengeance, but let them keep the
The percent
what is it,
damage.
20%?
Yeah, and then you have the what you call it, the other one. Cause dude, it's already flopping as a class, really, when it comes to its DPS side. I know some people like to be like, oh, it's best in slot, this and that. No shit, maybe to you, cause you play with like pretty bad people or something like that. But if you go against some top players that do damn near good damage, you won't be saying that shit.
Yeah, you can't because I mean your cooldowns,
You're gonna be fucked.
your
Because there's
shoestrings.
classes have so much more plus ones against the fighters. Like, you have
Yeah.
almost ridiculous damage with low cooldowns. You have at wills that hit 3 times more, aka the ranger. You have
Mhm.
fucking rogues that have encounter burst damage with bleeds and consistent, really really fast at wills.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, that's really it. And then warlocks, they're just fucking fluid. So a good warlock versus a good fighter, and a Zariel or Tom, most likely the warlock's gonna out DPS you. The other classes are shit, so it doesn't matter. Barbarians, oh my god, dude. Barbarians have rage and that fucking ridiculous fucking brass strike buff that they got that gave them like 10 times more damage. That's what they should make vengeance. Is just another rage. since
Yeah, good.
since since fighter is basically already
A
well,
good bar can melt.
fighter was just like a shield grave weapon fighter back in the day. Anyways, they used to have the same encounters, same AoEs, like the other Atwell. The one that the barbarians have, where they like slash in half and then like a clone comes up and does damage as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fighters used to have it too. They got rid of that. Tell me why? I don't know. Motherfuckers just stupid.
Hmm.
I remember pre-mod 15 or 16, whichever. They were doing like videos and stuff about the new fighter changes. And I was like, it looks good. And then they nerfed it to the fucking ground. And then that's when I just disliked the vengeance gauge.